Hello, everyone. This is Vicki Matranga of IHA's Innovation Theater and Smart Talks educational programming. Thank you for taking the time to learn with IHA today. I misspoke earlier. This program starts at 2, which it now is Central Time. We'll be hearing from Courtland Jenkins of Eastman and Phil Notheis from Camelbak about revolutionizing materials teaming up to meet consumer demand for sustainable products. We have a large audience with us today, and it's wonderful to see such interest in this topic. But before we begin, a few housekeeping notes. This program is being recorded and will remain on our website, theinspiredhomeshow.com. During the presentation, you can ask the presenters your questions, and we'll take them at the end. Hover over the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and type in your questions. I'll be back after their presentation to engage them in a conversation. The speakers will also have a few questions for the audience, so you will be able to express your opinions and let them know about things that you want to learn more about. Today, we will learn from Courtland Jenkins, Commercial Director of Specialty Plastics for Eastman, and Phil Notheis, Director of Product Management, Hard Goods for Camelbak. They were scheduled to speak at the Innovation Theater at the Inspired Home Show in March, and they kindly offered to share information that they would have presented at the show. Courtland speaks to us today from Eastman's headquarters in Kingsport, Tennessee. Phil joins us from Sonoma County, California. Courtland is the Commercial Director for Specialty Plastics at Eastman Chemical Company. He is responsible for strategy, business operations, and financial performance. Prior to this position, he was Regional Business Director of Asia. A native of the state of Washington, Jenkins earned degrees from Georgia Tech University and Auburn University. He joined Eastman Chemical in 1995 and has held roles of increasing responsibility in marketing and sales leadership. Phil Notheis is an accomplished product and business leader with more than 15 years of diverse experience, successfully managing global product portfolios and brands across a wide variety of distribution channels and end user markets. He is currently Director of Product Management at Camelbak, a leader in hydration packs and bottles for athletes, outdoor enthusiasts, and the military. Prior to this current role, he was Director of Product at Clean Canteen, a certified B Corporation, and a pioneer in safe and sustainable stainless steel solutions to single-use plastic. Earlier, he was the snow category manager at Giro Sport Design, a leader in innovative cycling and snow sports, helmets, eyewear, apparel, footwear, and accessories. And earlier in his career, he held product and brand management roles in the toy industry as well as the housewares industry, working on brands such as OXO and Pyrex. Phil received his degrees from DePaul University and St. Louis University. Well, we're eager to get into this topic of sustainability and plastics, so take it away, Courtland.
Okay, before I start my presentation, I wanted to acknowledge Camelbak because Eastman and Camelback have had a relationship for many years. In fact, this is not the first time our two companies have innovated together. Back in 2008, they were one of the first companies to introduce Triton into the hydration space. And so I think it's very appropriate today that we're talking to you with them about the next generation of Triton, our Triton Renew, with 50% certified recycled content. Basically, it gives you the same performance as Triton, but it delivers on the sustainability expectations that the consumer has of both of us. So with that, please move to the next slide. So I've been with Eastman now for 25 years, primarily in market-facing roles in a lot of different industries. And I have never seen a macro trend gain and maintain the kind of momentum that the sustainability macro trend has. And there's a good reason for that. Is what's happening is we actually have multiple issues all coming to a head at the same time. We have climate change, we have resource depletion, and we also have a waste problem. And we have a planet that in the not too distant future is going to have 10 billion people on it. And many of the people in the developing worlds, they aspire to have the lifestyle that we have in the West. And so it just kind of almost leads you to one conclusion. And the fact is that our industry cannot continue to operate the way we've operated in the past. And so at Eastman, We see this as an opportunity. We see this as an opportunity to not only do the right thing, but also to be a catalyst for change. And so what I'm going to talk with you about today are two new technologies that we are taking to market. They are both commercial and they're both at scale and they're both available right now. So with that, I want to go into explaining a little bit about Eastman's sustainability journey. So please move to the next slide. All right, so Eastman's been on a sustainable journey for quite some time. And basically, we have three principles that drive many of our decisions: reduce, reuse, and recycle. And as I mentioned, I've been with the company for 25 years. And when I joined in 1995, we had a portfolio that consisted very heavily of polyesters and polyethylenes. And the majority of those materials would go into single-use applications. At the beginning of this journey, our leadership decided to reposition our portfolio. So we divested a few businesses and we made a significant investment in R&D. And if you look at the portfolio today, as opposed to when I first joined the company, greater than 85% of our portfolio is now in multi-use applications. And one of the outcomes of that heavy resource investment in technology was Tritan. Tritan is a very robust material that can survive many different application challenges. And it fits very nicely within the hydration space, a space that by very definition is kind of the embodiment of reuse. So these two new technologies that we've developed, they really are just kind of the next stage of our sustainability journey. And so basically there's two technologies and they both do the same thing. They take plastic waste, we introduce them to our assets, which in turn break that plastic waste down into its basic building blocks, removes the impurities, and then rebuilds it into a product that has the same properties as the virgin material. And in the process, what we do is we utilize less fossil fuels and we replace them with plastic waste, and we also generate fewer greenhouse gas emissions. So now what I want to do is advance to the next slide and talk about the challenge and how we're going to solve that challenge. So I'm sure many of you have heard of the concept of the circular economy. And if you haven't, I would strongly suggest that you look into the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. It's an organization that really champions this concept. And their belief is the only way to get to a sustainable future is through a circular economy. So right now, the way we operate is we operate a linear economy. And basically the way it works, you extract raw materials, you then manufacture the product, the consumer uses the product until the end of its life, at which point they dispose of it. Now with a circular economy, what you're actually doing is you're redesigning the system. Now there's many different systems that can be designed within a circular economy, and the hydration vessel is just an example of one system within there. But being a material supplier, we feel that the recycling is the appropriate area for us to focus on. Because you can imagine the linear economy is basically like a conveyor belt, where you're putting materials on one end and they're dropping off the other end as waste. And you can imagine this conveyor belt actually speeding up. Well, what we're doing with these technologies is we're actually connecting the back end with the front end, and we're giving value to waste. And we're reintroducing the waste into the system as a raw material, which in turn enables us to reduce the amount of raw materials that we have to extract. And so I would argue that if a circular economy is the only way for a sustainable future, the only way we're going to achieve a circular economy is through molecular recycling. And let me explain why on the next slide. So every year, the plastics industry generates 300 million metric tons of plastics. And of this, less than 15% of these plastics go into multi-use applications. The majority of them go into single-use applications. So that creates a lot of waste every year. And over on the right gives you a sense of how this waste is managed. Only 16% of this waste is actually collected for mechanical recycling. And of that, only about 12% is mechanically recycled. The remainder of it is either landfilled, incinerated, or it's not managed responsibly. And so with these technologies, we see, please go back if you don't mind. With these technologies right here, we see the opportunity to focus on the 40% landfill and the 25% incineration. Because right now, society is not placing value on these materials. And by giving them a second life, that's what we're doing. We're placing value on them. So if we could, let's advance to the next slide. And I want to make one thing clear. I am not talking about mechanical versus molecular recycling. I am talking about mechanical and molecular recycling, because those two technologies, we need them both as a society. Mechanical recycling is a great way to use the waste because it has a very small carbon footprint. But it can only handle so much of the waste problem that I talked about on the previous slide. And the reason for that is mechanical recycling really requires a very pure raw material. And so there are challenges within the system. There's challenges around collection, sortation, and even the different forms that the plastics are in. Everything from bottles to carpets to fabrics. So once again, it's not an either or, we need both. And so what I would like to do is advance to the next slide and talk with you about the technologies and how they fit. Please advance to the next slide. So I mentioned before that Eastman is launching 2 new technologies. One is called carbon renewal technology, and the second one is a polyester renewal technology. Once again, they both work the same way. They work in a similar way, excuse me. They take a waste, use it as a feedstock, break it into its building blocks, reconstitute it into the polymer, and you have a product that has the same performance as the virgin material, all while reducing the amount of fossil fuels you use and generating lower greenhouse gas emissions than we normally would. So there are some differences between these technologies. The primary 2 differences are that they go into different streams within Eastman. Well, I'll explain more on the next slide, but really it's about the diversity of waste that they can handle. The carbon renewal technology can handle almost all plastics minus PVC. If it can be broken down and put into a form that can be fed to our assets, it can be used. The polyester renewal technology uses polyester as a feed stream. So I'm here today talking with you about the polyester renewal technology as it pertains to Triton Renew. So the commercial, the application that's at scale today is glycolysis. That is what is currently operational. And in 2022, we are going to be operational in methanolysis. Basically, they both will deliver the same product to the market, but will have greater operational efficiencies and the ability to handle much more diverse polyesters with the methanolysis. So if we could, let's go to the next slide, and I want to talk about molecular recycling or chemical recycling and maybe address some of the concerns or some of the things that you may have heard. I've read a number of articles out there that say that it's a pipe stream, it's only available in pilot facilities, and I want to refute that. And so we talked about the 2 technologies, the carbon renewal technology and the polyester renewal technology. The engine behind the carbon renewal technology is a technology called reforming. We have actually been operating that technology since 1983, and we actually expanded it in the early 90s. So it's a technology that we understand real well. And as far as polyester renewal technology is concerned, we've actually operated a methanolysis plant in the 80s for Kodak, when we were a part of Kodak. And it was used to enable us to segregate precious metals from some of their photographic films. So the two things about this is, first off, we know the technology. But the second thing, the technologies are integrated into our streams. And this is really critical for a chemical facility. Because when you integrate into the streams like that, it enables us to get the scale and also drive the economics. And so what you actually have is you have a very viable two technologies that are available right now. I want to shift your focus to the timeline in the middle here. And you noticed we go from decades to quarters. And I talked about two technologies that we were practicing in the 80s. In basically 2018, our CEO made the decision that we were going to pivot our portfolio to a sustainable portfolio. And I want to show you how long it took us to do this. And once again, the only way you can pivot to the point of an idea to being commercial and at scale is if you really understand these technologies really well and they fit into your existing business model. And they do. And so that's why I'm very excited to talk about both of these technologies. Now, I want to shift to the next slide and focus on the polyester renewal technology, because Camelbak is going to be talking about Triton Renew. And Triton Renew is a product from the polyester renewal technology. So this is the basic diagram for how the polyester renewal technology works. Basically, what we do is we recover polyesters and then we mechanically clean them. Then we put them into our assets and we break them down into the building blocks. There's a purification step that takes place, and then they were rebuilt in our polymer lines. And once again, the output is a material that performs just like the virgin plastic. So on the next slide, I want to talk about the two materials that we are launching. So we are launching a 50% certified recycled content Triton Renew and a 25%. Now, the really exciting things about these materials, I said they have the same properties and performance as the virgin material. And so for companies like Camelbak who are using Triton today, it gives them an option to move to a more sustainable offering with minimal barriers, because they know how the Triton performs, and the Renewed performs just like the Triton. And it also works within your existing manufacturing assets. We like to call this sustainability without compromise, and it is available right now. So if we could shift to the last slide, I just want to end once again on a quote from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And it's about innovation, and innovation takes partnerships. It takes a lot of trust, because what the partners have to do is they have to break through barriers and break through paradigms. And I just want to thank Camelbak at this time for participating in that journey with us. And with that, I'll turn it over to Phil.
Cool. Thanks, Courtland. Hey, thanks to the Eastman team for bringing Camelbak along on their sustainability journey and giving us a few minutes to talk about ours and to talk a little bit more about how we're going to be implementing PRT and technology and Triton Renew into our product lines going forward. But before I kind of get into the details of that, I want to tell everyone a little bit about Camelbak. You know, we're not your typical Housewares brand. We're more of an outdoor brand. So as you can see up on the screen, we've been pioneering ways to quench thirst since 1989. And you can see that little blue tube there. That's us. We're the innovator in hands-free hydration, and that's kind of where we started our journey. And let's go to the next slide, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Camelbak and our product journey. So, you know, we're very focused on hydration. That's kind of where we started. But we are considered a outdoor lifestyle brand. And what that means is it makes us a lot more value oriented. You know, we really have to embody the interests and attitudes of our target consumers to be an outdoor lifestyle brand. So that's really important to us. And our goal is to really motivate and empower our consumers to live an active lifestyle outdoors. So next slide, please. So it started in 1989, really quick history lesson. Our founder was an EMT and a cycling enthusiast living in Texas. He, was racing in the hotter than hell 100-mile Century bike race, and he used some of his EMT supplies. I'm sorry. One of the hydration bags that kind of you get, you attach to your. I'm sorry.
Saline solution.
Thank you. Got stuck there, and that's where Camelbak was born. And since then, we've innovated around bite valve technologies to help bring that to life. Completely drip free. And with those technologies, it's kind of taken us towards the bottle category as well. And we partnered with Eastman, as Courtland mentioned earlier, to bring the first BPA-free hard bottle to the marketplace. At the time, there was a lot of bad press around BPA in water bottles at the time. So we were really happy to be able to bring a first to market with the Eastman team. And since then, the bottle market, that kind of put us on the bottle category map. And it really started our sustainability journey in a lot of ways. We've always been an outdoor company, but getting into bottles and reusables, something that displaces single use, was really the start of our sustainability journey. So it's really amazing we're able to kind of come full circle to this time with the Eastman team and talk about sustainability. Next slide, please. So it's important before we get into talking about some of our sustainability goals to talk a little bit about our consumer and what they demand. These are kind of our main consumer groups. We have kind of more urban actives who are more your outdoor weekend warrior, your adventurers, who are your mountain bikers, trail runners, hikers, things of that nature. We got young adventurers. The kids market is really important to us. We want to start them young and get them outside as quickly as we can in their life. And then we have athletes. We sponsor a lot of professional athletes across a lot of different sports. And we also equip a lot of active military personnel who we also consider athletes. And what they all have in common is, for enthusiasts and people who get outside, performance is really important, as Courtland brought up. So our product is lifetime guaranteed. We're going to have the best technology and the best materials to create a really durable solution that lasts a long time. The other thing that they all share is especially in folks who spend a lot of time outdoors, means they have more of an affinity for the environment. So sustainability is really important among a lot of other social issues as well. They're looking to brands who they want to buy products from and be loyal to be really responsible. And what I mean by that is, for a long time, we've been making reusable bottles, which displace single-use waste, and that's great. But there's been a little bit of a shift now with the internet and all the information that's available to consumers. They want more. They demand more. They demand that brands are looking at their whole supply chain and really doing what they can to mitigate climate change. So they have a lot of demands of us now. So going to the next slide, please. So we did, with Eastman's help, we did go out and talk to consumers about their views on sustainable products as it relates to reusable water bottles specifically. So we asked them, what comes to mind, kind of unaided, that would make a reusable water bottle more sustainable. And you can see the breakout here. 33% said materials is really what was going to make bottles more sustainable. that they're recyclable, that they last longer, that they just generally have less environmental impact, and 22% said they didn't know. So you can see that materials and really focusing on the makeup of the materials is really what people are looking for when they think about a more sustainable bottle. Next slide, please. So as some of you may or may not know or own yourself, there's been a big shift towards, in the reusable bottle segment, there's been a big shift to stainless steel bottles and insulated stainless steel bottles, and there's a lot of reason for that. Performance, you know, here in the States, there's a lot of hot climates, so people want to stay refreshed, so you know, stainless steel bottles has been a big growth area. But hard plastic water bottles is still very affordable, you know, clear and lightweight. So it's still a large part of our business and a large part of the reusable bottle business. So we kind of segmented this consumer base into, you know, plastic haters and steel lovers and just general US consumers. And just to see if there were any differences out there. And we were really, really pleased to see that there isn't much of a difference. Across the board, most consumers, whether you like steel or you're cool with plastic water bottles, you know, using recycled plastic in our water bottles will make us more trustworthy, will make you more loyal, and shows that our brand cares more about the environment. So a lot of positivity there. Next slide, please. So just talking about Camelback and sustainability, you know, we have some pretty lofty goals for 2025. You know, our main goal is to design all of our products with reduction of climate impact in mind and continue to make them with the safest materials possible. So, you know, we're just kind of, we've been making reusable products for a long time, but really focusing on the makeup of the material is kind of a new journey for us. And we're just starting to get into measuring our impacts and starting to measure our carbon footprint as well. So you can expect a lot more to come from Camelback on our sustainability and environmental impacts. But we are a product oriented company. We make products, that's our business. So we've found through some early LCA you know, studies that our product materials is where we're going to be able to make the biggest impact on the environment or reduction of impacts to the environment for Camelback. So going off to the right here, you can see that we're focusing on some key kind of technology areas where we're looking to make impacts. Reformulate, so we're looking at making our products with safer chemicals. Reuse, we're looking, you know, just like Triton Renew, we're looking to use more recycled content in our products across our packs and our bottles. Rethink, we're looking at ways to make our products last longer and be more serviceable. Repackage, we're even looking at the way we package our product to reduce our logistical footprint. And packaging is kind of part of the product in a matter of speaking as well. And then reduce, continuing to make products like reusable bottles that are reusable and are designed to preserve resources. And we have a new badging system that kind of adds those all up and helps us to kind of measure our progress on all our products moving forward. Next slide, please. So we're really overjoyed to talk about Triton Renew and how it's going to be implemented into our products in spring of 21. We are going with the 50%. We're taking as much as Eastman can give us. Because we've been wanting it for a long time. And I can't tell you how many different types of materials we've actually explored. You know, using mechanical recycling, using more plant-based materials, we've explored so much. And we've really struggled to find something that doesn't compromise on durability and performance. And we've found that now with Triton Renew. It's really no compromise. It brings all the health and safety benefits of Triton. It brings all the clarity, the durability, completely shatterproof to make a great outdoor rated product that Camelback's really proud to get behind. It'll be featured prominently across 12 styles in spring 21. So we're going all in across our entire product line. We're really proud to do that. And it's already gotten really great reception from a lot of our best retail partners as well. Okay, next slide, please. So just to tell you a little bit more about how we're doing it as it relates to the product on shelf. So we're prominently calling out Triton Renew, 50% recycled content on all our packaging and on all our products that contain it. And we did a little bit of checking in with consumers, a little bit of research to validate that. 89% viewed the change as really very as positive or very positive, not very much negativity there as some of the earlier research showed. 76% preferred talking about Triton Renew specifically and calling out the recycled content. And that's really important as well because we explored a lot of different options there. So it just goes to show the name recognition that Triton has kind of garnered through the years, which is great. And 87% said it improved their opinion of Camelbak being a more sustainable brand in introducing Triton Renew. So we're really excited about it and can't wait for spring to come. Next slide, please. And then, of course, as you can see on that previous slide, we're kind of talking high-level generalities. We're just talking about 50% recycled content, but we're going to make sure that a lot of the details of PRT, a little bit more details about Eastman and our partnership, and more details about our sustainability journey are available to the consumer online. That's another one of those values that for our consumer base that's really important is transparency. So we're going to be making a lot of this information more available to consumers so they can be better informed, learn a lot about this great technology, which is a lot to talk about at the retail shelf, and make sure that we're moving forward on our journey with them and letting them in. So that's all I have for today. And I think we'll move on to the next portion of the presentation.
So here's where Eastman and Camelback have some questions for the audience. Multiple choice. You can, we're calling upon the audience to answer these questions, and then we'll move on to audience questions directly to the speakers. Okay, so we have quite a few audience questions here. So let's move on with that for Courtland and Phil. One question is, when disposed, in which recycle stream does Triton Renew go? Did you hear that? That's for you, Courtland.
Sure. So Triton, by the classification, would be a 7. But what we're really doing is we're using the ability to recycle it through molecular recycling, that we could actually take that back into our polyester renewal technology assets and recycle it into a new material. So it is a 7, but it is as recyclable as any polyester in these assets.
Okay, great. Next question is, last I knew, there were 37 or so grades of Triton. My product is made with TX1001. Is Triton Renew available for that or all grades? Also, how is Triton Renew priced relative to the previous generation of Triton?
Sure. Our TX1001 is our workhorse resin. So it's a significant product for us in that product line. And that is the product that we are offering in both a 25 and 50% certified recycled content. As far as the costs are concerned, it is more expensive for us to make. What we found is it's not cost prohibitive for our customers when they're serving consumers who demand and seek out products made with it.
Okay. Next one is, does Eastman work with startups in the early phase of product development or near-term product launch to add or include Renew as possible considerations over traditional Triton?
We absolutely work with startups. I mean, startups they're fun because they attack problems in different ways. And so I think personally it's fun to engage with startups, but also, startups are going to be your next category leaders. So we definitely work with them. What I would ask is if someone is to reach out to Eastman, we'll connect you with the right individual. And there's many ways that we can engage. We can engage in product design. We can engage in helping you understand the ability to meet the fitness for use. And we can engage you with the appropriate molders who can manufacture for you. So absolutely.
Okay, now questions keep coming. Does this technology exist, or will it be developed for common CPG packaging materials like PP and PE?
Basically, these technologies feed our chemistries. And so we have two chemistries. We have our polyester chemistries, which, although we do sell some PET, some specialty PETs, but there are a wide range of polyesters that these technologies, the PRT, feeds. And then we have our acetyl products. So our cellulosic plastics and our Triva plastic are all fed by our carbon renewal technology. So those are the products that you could buy that would have the content in them, the Renew content. The interesting thing is when you start talking about polyethylene and polypropylene, that becomes something that can be fed into the carbon renewal technology. So it is, we're always open to ideas that people have, but it's one of those things that is more costly for us and presents challenges, but there's opportunities for us to work with companies in different ways and how you recycle those materials.
Okay. Will products manufactured using a molecularly recycled resin be food safe?
Yes.
Okay, that was an easy answer. Does Triton Renew utilize the mass balance approach?
Yes, it does. We utilize the mass balance approach. It's used extensively across a lot of industries. It's used within green energy, sustainable foresting, and raw materials that are used in food products. So it's been around for a long time. It has international standards. It has transparency, and then it utilizes a third party to make sure that whatever claims are being made are certified by an independent party. So we find it to be the best approach.
Maybe backfill a little bit and define the term mass balance.
Define the term mass balance.
Yeah, for those in the audience who are unfamiliar with the term.
Holly, I'm going to phone a friend in here, and we have our sustainability leader. I'm going to ask Holly to define mass balance. She's exceptional at this.
Hi, Courtland. It was funny. As soon as that question came up, I thought, I'm coming on. So great to be here with you folks today. So mass balance is a really interesting process that's used to be able to account for the inputs and the outputs in a process. So one of the simplest ways to think about this, like we look at this from a manufacturing standpoint. So what are all the inputs that go into making Triton that are either fossil derived or coming from recycled content? So we keep track of everything that comes in, what it takes to manufacture products. We remove anything that comes off as like a byproduct or something like that. So at the end, we can account for how much recycled content can be allocated to the products that we sell. One of the simplest ways for you to think about this is like your checking account. And so as you keep track of the money in your account, you may know that you have money coming from, let's say, the stimulus payment or your job, or $50 that you get from your grandmother that she tells you to use for a special dinner with your family. Now, when you actually go have that dinner, it may not be the exact $50 that came from your grandmother if you put it into your account, but you know that money is earmarked for that. And so all mass balance is an accounting practice for us to keep track of what comes in and what goes out. And then we leverage, Courtland alluded to this, a third-party auditing system and a certification methodology, ISCC Plus. And with that, they come in, they audit our practices, they make sure that they understand exactly how we're doing stuff so that we can provide assurance to our customers that what we're selling, that everything balances out. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Okay, good. Like I said, the questions keep coming. When can used Tritan products be used again in another Triton Renew product? I hear that happens in phase 2. When will that be?
Yeah, so we have, I mentioned 2 different technologies in our polyester renewal technology. There's glycolysis and methanolysis. With glycolysis, we're more limited in the feedstocks that we can utilize there, but we will be able to incorporate Triton with, say, something like methanolysis. And so that's what we're exploring how to do as we look to build that facility.
Okay, now we have a couple questions for Camelbak. What type of research did Camelbak use to generate the consumer acceptance data?
We did some online surveys
Of your current customers?
Mm-hmm.
I see. Okay. Then there was a related question. What was the reaction that you've encountered as you started talking to retailers in the industry?
Yeah, especially our retailers. I mean, we are in some very large ones, but we're in some other retailers like REI as well. And you know, more progressive retailers like that have a lot of their own sustainability goals, and they're kind of on their own journey. So bringing more sustainable products into their stores for their consumers helps them hit their goals as well. So it's been very, very well received.
Well, that's great news.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this one bounces back to Courtland. Can you explain how depolymerization works?
So I'm a bad mechanical engineer. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably not the best person to do that, but basically what you're doing is a polyester with heat and the removal of water, you basically you make a polymer. And so it's actually a very reversible reaction. And so by introducing water and heat, it actually reverses. And so what you can actually do then is you can take polyester and you can reverse that reaction and distill the products that come out of that just like you would in a normal chemical process. So anything deeper than that, I'd suggest going to Wikipedia.
Well, people can contact you separately on more detailed questions. You might want to handle this offline. This question is, how about the costs of Triton recycled products compared to virgin material?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, I mean, like I said before, I mean, it does cost us more, okay? It goes through multiple steps, and it's also a fairly new process for us, but it's through the scale that we're able to get economics that make the increase reasonable. And so what we're doing first is we're engaging customers and markets that really need this, okay? And so when you look at Camelbak and you look at Phil's presentation where he goes through, I mean, he's got a customer base that wants this. They're asking for it. His retailers want it. And so that's why we really approached them very early on, because they've been approaching us and saying, hey, you got to solve our problem. So it was very clear there was a need, but you know, their customers really demand it. So that's how we're approaching it. We're approaching markets that we think will value it, and then even customers. Some customers are in just different situations where they're going to place more value in it. And but what I would recommend is if you do buy it today, talk to your salesperson. They can give you specific information. Yes, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, 2 more questions for Camelbak. The first is, how does Camelbak justify the made with recycled material claim when using the mass balance material?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe.
Do you want to think about that and come back to it separately then?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if I understand the question.
Yeah, it might be difficult to understand the phrasing of the question. Okay, the next one is, have you seen an increase in sales as a result of your adoption of a PCR containing material?
The product launches next spring.
Oh,
in spring
I
of
see.
21. So we will see. We hope so.
I see. It's not yet in the market, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay. So then another question for Camelback. Can you reveal your long-term plans for Triton Renew and your product portfolio?
I just did. It's going across the whole line. You know, we have adult bottles, we have kids bottles. Any place where we're using Triton previously, we'll be using Triton Renew going forward at the 50% recycled content level.
Okay, terrific.
We're all in.
All right, and then another Triton question, Courtland. Is the Triton Renew heat safe, for example, boiling water?
So I would say the Triton Renew has the same performance as Triton. So if we're going to get into a specific application and what we call the critical to quality aspects of it, I think the best thing for us to do is maybe contact me, and I can connect you with the right application development individual.
Okay.
But for this discussion, what I would say is if Triton works, Triton Renew will work. And if you're not sure if Triton will work because you're not working with Eastman, you can send me a note or contact Eastman and we'll reach out to you.
Okay, well, let me see. Do we have one more question? I think that's it from the audience. So I encourage all of our audience to connect with Phil and Courtland at the contact information on the screen. They'll be delighted to get acquainted with you. Thank you both for your great presentation packed with so much valuable and thought-provoking information, Courtland and Phil. It's really exciting to see how sustainable materials, products, and systems work, and how your companies are expressing your deep thinking and investigation and the corporate commitment of both your companies and your client customers. As we all know, consumers are increasingly concerned about sustainability issues, and it's great to see such a presentation about how the makers and sellers of consumer products are responding. Thanks a lot for both of you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
This program will remain on our website so you can revisit and share the information with your colleagues. Please keep in touch with Courtland and Phil at the email addresses and websites on the screen. This is Vicki Matranga saying thank you and goodbye. Thank you for joining us today. Our webinars appear under the Education tab on the InspiredHomeShow.com website. We have hosted many excellent programs in May and June and are now planning another exciting series of programs for July. Check back to our site to see notices of upcoming programs. Thanks so much to all of you. Bye.